Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be going over the process of me building a new feature into Arbitrack, specifically the brand checker and just seeing gating information on your leads in general. If you think the process is a little too long and just want to skip it, I don't mind. I'll put a chapter marker in the timeline, and if you just want to see the end results, go ahead and skip right to it. So I've been seeing a lot of videos on Boxum recently with their new Auto-Ungating feature, and I thought it was really cool. They have a feature where you can dump like a bunch of ASINs in, and it'll just process all of them, and it'll tell you which ones are gated, ungated, or restricted, right? Now I have something like that in Arbitrack, but it's just all manual. I mean, if you can see, if you see this lead here, it's grayed out, and that's because this one is a soft gated brand. And for this hard gated brand, the entire row is grayed out. Like, there's no point in looking at the lead because they're just hard gated, right? Versus this one, you can try to do an auto approval and see if that works. But to get these icons and to get this to work, you basically have to add it to the blacklist using the actions. So if I add it to blacklist here, say 3 dog breakery, and then say I do a hard gate, right? I'll add it. Now this lead is a hard gated brand now, and the whole row is grayed out. And so if we import any other 3 bakery leads or whatever, it's just going to automatically be grayed out, so we don't have to waste our time. But again, it's all manual, so if we can do this in a more automated way, that would be great. That would save me a bunch of time. So the first step is to figure out what API they're using. And I already have an idea because I already looked it up a long time ago. I just didn't really think much about it, but I'm gonna do a quick Perplexity search. We got from Perplexity, it's looking at the documentation. It's the get listing restrictions API call, right? If we look at the documentation for this API call, the rate is at 5 per second. So we can check 5 ASINs per second, which I think is actually the same rate that Boxum advertised. So I'm pretty sure they're using this. And it's just one simple get call that has 4 parameters, ASIN, condition type, seller ID, and marketplace ID. So let's test out this endpoint in Postman. I'm not going to do it on screen, but let's get the all the 3 different responses that we can get. We can use these responses and plan a solution for Arbitrack, right? Okay, so I ran the API call on 3 different ASINs that I know myself were open, gated, and hard gated. And this one here is the one that has no restrictions. So this one's totally open. And then this one is what you would see if it's a gated brand and you have to click approve, like request approval or whatever. And then this one, not eligible, is hard gated. So we can use these reason codes in here. Yeah, the reason codes to determine which ones are gated versus hard gated. All right, now we get to the hardest part, which is choosing the icons. No, but actually, sometimes I spend way too much time figuring out which icons I want to use. The Lucid React one has 3 doors. One is closed, one with a lock, and open, which I think is perfect. The icons are changed. Soft gated has a door. This one has a lock. The open door looks kind of, I don't know, looks kind of weird. Anyways, now that we have the icons in, this is just UI, so we have to get the back end processing done now. I don't think I'm going to show you guys like all the nitty gritty back end database stuff. I think I'm just going to do that offline, and I'll come back and hopefully show you a working feature. All right, guys, it's been 3 days. Yeah, that took a lot longer than I thought. I thought I was gonna knock it out in like 3 hours, but 3 hours to 3 days, what's the difference, Anyways, like I've been cooking up a lot of stuff and I'm excited to show you guys, all right? So let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing, I know I said at the beginning of this video that I was gonna try to make my own version and didn't have to be like exactly like theirs, but you know, it ended up looking a little similar, all right? And it just means that it was a good feature, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, new feature. If you didn't notice, the brand checker up at the top. Boom. This may look familiar to you, or maybe not. Who knows? Moving on. All you have to do is paste some ASINs in here. In my case, just putting like 46. Click the check brands button. And it's going to start checking which of these are ungated, what I call soft gated, and hard gated. And once it's done checking, which it is now, there's buttons down here where you can copy your ungated ASINs. When you paste them, it'll look like this. You can dump them into Keepa, and same thing with the brands. You can click this, it'll copy the brands. You can dump this into Keepa to do a Keepa Finder search, so you can start looking at products that you can actually sell. I added a button here for quick access to add the product, because if you guys didn't know, sometimes even if you're ungated, sometimes when you open this screen, it'll say generic error or something like that, and you can't actually sell it. So it's always good to check before you actually buy the thing to check if you can actually get through this screen. The next thing is I have a soft gated tab here. If you have the Arbitrack Chrome extension installed, I did some, automation bot stuff. So if you click check approval here, it'll actually go to this, click the new automatically, and you can see if it is auto approved or not. I took it one step further. If you do a bulk check, it'll actually do the same thing, but it'll read that button. It'll read this button. If it says sell this product, it'll see auto approved. If it still says apply to sell, it'll mark it still needs approval. And it'll just start doing that one by one in the background for you. So you can just let it run and just chill. And you can see if any of these are auto approved, right? And then I have a hard gated thing here. Then there's an errors tab just in case someone puts a ASIN in here that doesn't exist on Amazon anymore, and you'll probably see that in here. That is the brand checker feature. I will let this run all the way just so you can see what it looks like when it's done checking all of them. Okay, now it's done, and yeah, none of them were auto approved. So that sucks, but whatever. Yeah, the interesting thing is that I used to be hard gated in Pokemon, I believe, but now it's soft gated. So that's kind of cool. Getting closer to ungated, I guess. Who knows? Either way, I don't really apply anymore. I just go for auto approvals. Next feature I added was to the Chrome extension. So if we go to the product page here, let me zoom in a bit more so you can see. If you open up the Arbitrack extension, you now see this ungated thing here. If you click on it, it goes straight to the add product page, just so you could check, like I said before. And for soft gated, if we go to like this product, it has a soft gated icon now. And if you click on this, it does the auto check thing. Yeah, so this one is still gated. And then for hard gated, for hard gated, something I found that was weird to me after figuring out how this API thing works is that CellerAmp and like other apps like AZ Insight, they don't actually tell you up front if you're hard gated. They just tell you if you're not eligible. And to find out if you're hard gated, you have to go through this application thing and click apply. Comes back, hey, you're hard gated. Okay, great. And then you just move on, right? But now with the Arbitrack extension, I just put straight up, hey, you're hard gated. Don't need to click anything. Let's just move on. And for the last feature related to gating, so if you didn't know, the leads in here are continuously being updated in the background. And this is to get fresh pricing from Amazon. But in this case, now I'm adding the gating information to that background process. And what that means is basically every 24 hours, these leads are being checked for if they're ungated, soft gated, or hard gated. That's why you see on this lead, there is a lock because it has been marked as soft gated. And if you have the extension, you can just click on it to do the auto check. And in this case, I'm pretty sure this is still going to be gated. Yep. And what this does is it just saves you time while you're looking through your leads. So if I hover over this Pokemon, I know that this is not an auto approval, so I'm going to move on, right? And I also have hard gated icons here. So this one's hard gated for sure. It's a hard pass. I mean, I even grayed out the whole row for when they're hard gated just to make it real clear that you don't have to waste your time looking at this. The other cool thing is I used to wonder if any of my hard gated brands would finally open up over time, but you know, it's a manual process where you have to click on an ASIN and apply to see. But now that I can just have this checking for me in the back, I don't have to do that anymore. I can just use this, and then one day if it opens up, then great, I'll see it here. But yep, that's it guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.